Hello everyone! In this short video we're going to look at the second of our decision-making alternatives in which we don't have the use of probabilities to aid us in our decision. And that will be using the conservative approach. Now, when we use the optimistic approach, we thought of that as the best of the best. Everything was going to go fantastic. So with this approach, we're a little more risk adverse, we're a little more hesitant, and we want to look at the worst thing that can happen and then choose the best possible alternative out of those potential worst alternatives. So we can think of this option as the best of the worst approach. So the first thing we're going to do is to start very much like we did before. We're going to look at each of the decision alternatives and we're going to choose what is the worst thing that could possibly happen if that was the decision we chose to make. So now looking for the worst possible option. Again, we start in very much the same way. We start looking through each decision alternative. So if I look at decision alternative 1, well, what's the worst thing that could have possibly happened? Again, if this is a much different scenario, if it's profit or cost. First looking at profit, well, the worst thing that could happen here is that we only earn a profit of 10 units. And again, it's not specified what these units are, but 10 is the lowest number. That is the worst possible profit we could get. Okay. Similarly, for D2, the worst possible profit we could get is 14 units. And then finally, in D3, the worst possible profit that we could have if we chose decision alternative 3 would be 16 units. Well, now again, we want to choose what is the best of those worst possible options. So D3 would be our choice under the conservative approach. Analyze all the things that could go potentially as bad as they could go for each decision alternative, and then choose the best of those options. So same thing if we were doing for cost, but obviously the worst case scenario in cost is much different than the worst case scenario for profit. But again, we're looking for each decision alternative. For each decision alternative, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen? Well, now we're looking at the highest number in each of these scenarios. Well, 24 is the worst possible cost that we could have there, 24 units of whatever those units are. The worst cost in the case of decision alternative 2 would be 29. And finally, under decision alternative 3, the worst thing that could happen is that we have a cost of 26 units. So now choosing the best of the worst options here, well, again, this isn't the highest number. If we're talking about cost, we want the lowest possible cost that we can pay, which would mean under cost, we would choose decision alternative 1 as our choice under the conservative approach. Thank you very much as always, and please email me if you have any questions whatsoever.